Hi everyone, Mr. Caleb here again. I'm doing a video on data interpretation and the different types of geographical data that is in your syllabus. Alright, you need to be a bit careful with geographical data. They can sometimes be a bit daunting. Therefore, I want to go through each and every type with you in detail. Okay, this is actually extracted from your 2279 and 2260 syllabus documents. These are all the geographical data that can be tested. Okay, quite a number of them. I'll be going through each and every data in detail, and I hope that through this video you'll be able to understand this data a bit better. Okay, for the first type of data that is presented in table forms, you can see that in this example over here, we're looking at tourist arrivals. We are looking at quite a huge amount of numbers over here. And I think firstly, we really need to look into the rows and the columns to understand what each represents, such as what are the regions that are involved, what are the different columns that represents different years, and also more importantly, okay, I need everyone to take note. For data interpretation, okay, a lot of students tend to forget the use of unit. Unit is very important. So obviously for this table data of tourist arrival, a lot of students will fall into the trap of saying, oh, in the year 2000, Europe receives 390 tourist arrival. Okay, that is absolutely wrong because this is if you were to be more careful about data, okay, you realize that, hey, this is actually in millions. So the correct way to identify the data is to really look carefully at the units that's actually given. All right, so in this case, the Europe region in 2000 had 390 million tourist arrivals. Okay, so that is one important tips for data interpretation. Always look at the unit. Next, we also look for summary statistics like averages, total, frequency, so on and so forth. So in this case, the thing that the data total that we can really look into is the world data. Okay, we are looking at a total of 692 million tourist arrivals in 2000, and in 2010 it has increased to about 1 billion, okay, and for 47 million. All right, and then subsequently in 2020, I think it's 1,602,000,000 tourist arrivals. So you just need to be a bit careful about these units. So what does it really mean? All right, so you can see over here, it really depends on the question. What the question is asking you is to describe certain, perhaps in this table, you're supposed to describe certain regions. They may give you certain regions, they may give you certain years to concentrate on because there are quite a number of information here. So that is for table data. All right. So make sure you identify any significant differences between these regions and also any relationships between these categories as well. One relationship that I can identify is that, okay, in 2000, Europe, okay, the Europe region has more than half of the total tourist arrivals in the world. So Europe is the highest significant region whereby they receive the top tourist arrivals as compared to other regions. But you also can see that over here, okay, and for Asia, okay, for Asia, okay, we are slowly increasing as well. East Asia slash Pacific, we are slowly increasing as well. So these are some relationships you can talk about. But of course, like I said, it really depends on the question. Next, for text, I think this is pretty simple. Just read carefully the title. Make sure that you are able to identify the main ideas, main arguments. Okay, make sure that you're able to use some of these evidences. Okay, next two data are your photographs. Photographs are um, can be quite interesting read into it. Some of the time, okay, students tend to misread or misread any of this photograph data because, okay, this photograph over here, this sample over here is pretty simple. It's about pollution, right? It's about air pollution. It's about perhaps heavy industries contributing to pollution. However, there are sometimes there can be quite a difficult photo that could be used to ask for annotation, right? Annotation is another skill that I may have to go through in the next few videos. Okay, so that's for photographs, and sometimes not just landscape photographs are given. All right, there could be aerial photographs, satellite photo images, such as the example in this video. Okay, so this is a satellite image. Okay, so what is the difference between all these photographs? It really depends on the types of photographs that are given. My tips would be to observe the elements within the photograph first, such as landforms, vegetation, human structures. Then consider the scale and perspective of the photograph. Sometimes the scale, like the scale of the photograph could also mean that it is taken for for a purpose. And last but not least, sometimes you may be given a satellite images side by side whereby you have to compare the change over time. Like for example, in lower sec you have learned about deforestation in sec 1, and you can be given a satellite image of Amazon rainforest in the as compared to the Amazon rainforest right now. Okay, and the rate of deforestation can be seen in these satellite images. So you're supposed to compare. So these are the type of questions that may come out, okay, or that may be used to test your knowledge of reading these data. Next, we look at the different types of graphs. Some are quite mathematical, some are pretty simple and easy, such as the line graphs and bar graphs. These are nothing unfamiliar with for you. Okay, whether is it a comparative or a simple, I think this should be quite doable for you. Maybe I'll just start off with the scatter graphs and the best fit line. Okay, this is actually more for GI. Okay, more for GI, you'll be able to see that scatter graphs, okay, there are two variables, okay, X and Y, right? You'll always have two variables for your GI, for your hypothesis, and we always look for the overall trend. So you can see over here, okay, these are the types of relationship in the scatter graphs, and we use the best fit line to really talk about the pattern, the trend, the relationship. So you can see over here, if the best fit line is moving, is shown like this, it means that it is a positive relationship. Then when it is going downwards, okay, it will be a negative relationship. And sometimes it may even happen whereby there's no relationship, your data points are all over, right? So this is for your GI, and these may be one of your data for your GI 6 marks question. So make sure you know how to read them. Okay, make sure you know where is the abnormally. The anomaly will usually be at points whereby it is away from this best fit line. The best fit line shows the trend, okay? And when the data is so far away from the trend, from the general trend, that means it is an anomaly, and that makes your hypothesis that will challenge your hypothesis or make it invalid. All right, so that's for that. So for line graphs and bar graphs, just make sure you know that you look at the legend carefully, and please, units must be right. All right. Okay, I think for pie charts, it is pretty straightforward. Okay, for these three graphs or charts that we are talking about, okay, there might be a possibility whereby in your paper, in your O levels paper or your or you may be given a chance to complete the graphs. Do not miss that question. Okay, it usually will be a 1 mark question. Okay, you'll be given a simple question. You may be asked to complete certain graphs, certain line graphs, or certain pie charts. So remember, for pie charts, remember to bring your, what is that called? Your protractor. Yes, please bring your protractor. Sometimes you may be asked to complete a pie chart. All right, so that's for that. Next, we're going to look at the different types of maps. Okay, sketch maps, dot maps, pluripath, flow line, proportional symbol maps, ISO line maps. It could be just Google Map as well. Okay, but these are the 6 different types of map that may be given to you. All right, for sketch maps, basically sketch maps actually look at basic visual representation of a location. It can be hand drawn. It can be like the title suggests. It can be sketched by a person. Therefore, it is not very accurate. However, the key thing over here it is to highlight some of the key features or relationship in this sketch map. Will you be asked to do a sketch? You may be needed to do a sketch as well. All right. Next, we look at dot map. Dot map. This is an example of a Tectonics dot map, and dot map usually use dots to represent quant to represent how many times, perhaps in this case, how many times uh, earthquakes have happened, or these dots represents the volcanoes along the plate boundaries. That's possible. All right, the more dots there are, the more times of occurrence. Okay, so you can see over here in this, maybe it's not very clear. You can go and have a search for dot maps, and you can see that these dot maps are actually pretty straightforward. Okay, look for clusters. For example, over in this sample over here, the clusters are at the plate boundaries. Okay, be it earthquakes or volcanoes, they happen at plate boundaries. That's one of the pattern that I can see over here. All right, so that's for dot maps. Don't be surprised that dot maps can be used for other purposes as well. Basically, it is to visualize spatial patterns. Okay, for choropleth maps, uh, this is usually used for climate. Okay, as you can see over here, most likely this map over here is about perhaps a temperature difference. Okay, maybe climate change, so on and so forth. So you can see that it is very important to note that if you are color blind, you need to report it. You need to let your teachers know immediately, because I do have students that did not report it and they are unable to differentiate some of these colors. You can see this map over here, it has various colors uh, and it is in various shading. All right, so for choropleth maps, my first advice is to look at the different layers of shading, okay, and see the changes. Look at the legend, see what what colors is being represented at which level, and then identify obviously the darkest and or perhaps okay the lightest as well. All right, so that's what you can look. Okay, for flow line maps, typically it comes in the form of trying to show the movements of or actually flow of people or even goods or information. It could be, this is a classic example of tourism, whereby there is tourist flow. Okay, it shows connection between places. You can see there are many lines coming from out of Europe, so the Europeans, they are traveling. they are also being connected by US. Okay, you can see people from the eastern coast of US traveling to Europe over the Atlantic Ocean, right? So you can see that the connection over there, the thickness of the tourist flow map, or rather flow line map, okay, represents the quantity of the amount of people that's traveling. Okay, just make sure you are able to understand the connection between the two, and you can identify where are the clusters of big clusters of flow and where are the smaller ones. Okay, so there's that. For proportional symbol maps, we are looking at symbols of different sizes to represent the magnitude of certain variable. So over here it is about US oil consumption. So the bigger it is, okay, the bigger the oil consumption is at that state. And you would have to refer to a certain legend to specifically cite out or use the evidences. All right. And last but not least, these are ISO line maps. ISO line maps are usually used in the climate cluster. Okay, ISO line maps actually connects points of equal value to show continuous data. Okay, so over here you can see that you can see different temperatures being connected, and oh sorry, these are actually different pressure points being connected, and we actually call these ISO bar maps. Okay, so it is part of ISO line map. So it could be temperature, it could be pressure, it could be quite a number of things of units in the in the climate cluster. So what you need to understand is how where are the peaks, where are the lows. So in terms of pressure, you'll be able to gather how the wind will flow from the high to the low pressure points. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so we are done with maps. We look into the last three types of maps. Okay, firstly, it's about cartoon. Okay, sometimes cartoon can be used as well. Do not be surprised. I know cartoons are used a lot in the social studies syllabus, but not enough in the geography syllabus. Okay, when you are faced with cartoons, identify the characters or symbols or objects in the cartoon, and always consider the message or point that the cartoonist is trying to convey. A bit like a SS, but what's the purpose, or rather what's the main message of the cartoon? Next, we look at wind roses. Wind roses can be a bit tricky. Okay, wind roses okay usually comes in round shape. Why is that so? It is because it shows your compass direction. Okay, you can see the south, okay, is getting most of the wind coming in. Okay, so the longer the data, okay, it means that there will be it is the longest arm of this data, which is here south. This is actually the prevailing wind. Okay, because the frequency of winds that blow from this direction is the most in that certain month. Okay, usually for wind rolls it is recorded for a month, so every entry to the wind rolls is like a day one wind direction from here, mainly from this direction, day two mainly from this direction, then it's accumulation wind um, of wind in different directions, okay, in this graph over here. Last but not least, let's consider the diagrams, the schematic or blocks that some teachers use as well. Make sure to really understand the processes that's really written in this diagram. Look at the relationship between boxes and circles. Look at the relationship between concepts 1 and 2 and 3, so on and so forth, and look for hierarchy in concepts. Okay, because sometimes these data will be able to give you some insight to how you should write certain answers, right? And that's all for this video. It's a long video, but I hope I've covered everything. If you have any question, please leave down in the comments below. I will try to answer them. Thank you. See you, Joggies.